Okay. Um, so this is a recorded session. Whoever is listening, whoever has joined, um, welcome to yet another SEO Talk session, episode 122. So good to be back on a Monday evening. And today's topic is especially relevant for marketers preparing for the coming year, 2026. So, how CMOs should prioritize SEO budgets in 2026? Search has changed massively in 2025. Every single month, every other week, there were updates. There were new LLM models from ChatGPT 3 to 3.5 to 4 to 5, 5.1, and whatnot, Claude, Sonnet, and Opus, and whatnot. Um, AI discovery, unstable traffic, and new visibility surfaces have popped up in 2025 for sure. And none other than CMOs are under pressure to justify every dollar spent for this particular organic channel, SEO. So, in today's session, we'll try to break down how budgets must balance defensive SEO, AI experiments, tools, and probably new measurement frameworks. So, without any further ado, let's get started. Over to you, Malar.
No, superb. You laid down some of the important points, and I guess that's where the entire episode can also start with because some of the changes that you mentioned, right? And if we can relate to those changes and say what forced the CMOs or what is forcing the CMOs to rethink the budget because end of the day dollar spent versus dollar earned versus whatever dollar spent on discovery etc, a lot of things are changing. So what is making them rethink from an SEO budget point of view?
Um, I think so. The AI discovery systems have changed how SEOs and like how people, like the layman, how people find information. And to answer to that, I think so. SEO is no longer only about Google rankings. Brands out there trying to focus on this particular organic channel needs stronger technical foundations, better content structure compared to the traditional SEO frameworks, and not only rankings but visibility across multiple different AI surfaces. So yeah, it's very important for CMOs to rethink where to allocate the SEO budgets in the coming year.
A fantastic point, but again, I'll go a little deeper into that entire bit and say, uh, for now, if I can put it that way, the traditional organic traffic is becoming unpredictable, right? Because a lot of the discovery is going back to say LLMs and again internally we were having this conversation as we plan for next year that so you talk about discovery at different uh, stages of the funnel, and for each stage of the funnel the the challenge is okay, where is the customer journey happening, where is it coming from? The entire organic traffic, because of the way discovery is happening, is unpredictable. So how is that impacting the budgeting decisions? At the end of the day, see, if I'm supposed to build top of the funnel content and rather focus on LLM discovery for top funnel content, as we say talked about few weeks back. Now my budget should not be put on blogs or creation of content for my website, but I have to think of different ways of allocating that budget to either a PR or different channels, right? So how do you think is that is impacting the entire budgeting decision?
That's a great question. I think so. Um, it's important to understand for every CMO out there, um, that the AI summaries, the answer-led results, the reduced number of blue link space makes organic traffic harder to forecast. And CMOs should budget for resilience instead of only growth. So at this point in time, it's important for every CMO out there to sustain, to hold the traffic, and at the same time also focus on to capitalize the organic traffic that they are trying to sustain. So for example, if the traffic has dropped by 30%, 40%, and if they're trying to sustain that 60, 70% traffic, how can they make the most out of it? At the same time, not only just focus on just increasing the numbers and all of that, with respect to the traffic numbers, which has been a vanity metric for quite a few years now. um, but at the same time, there are multiple different AI surfaces that have popped up. So if you are driving within the city on a GPS, on a two-wheeler map, now if you have to switch to a four-wheeler, a car based map, because you want to optimize, so it's important to navigate through these changes and accordingly budget for SEO and its internal disciplinary, like how much you want to invest in YouTube content for top of the funnel, how much you want to invest in Reddit content, considering middle of the funnel, the buying decision stage, or for commercial intent queries on Reddit. So these all factors needs to be considered. Hey Isha, welcome to SEO Talk.
Isha, Atar, glad to see you guys. I just sent you the request if you want to
Welcome Atul,
join in.
welcome.
So I was, if I can flip that question a bit in terms of, say, if I'm an agency owner, right? How do I convince the CEO, I mean the CMO rather, and get them to probably say, okay, invest here because this is the channel of choice, and hence, because see again, to give you an example, probably I'm working with an agency which has been doing content for my own website, but now I want to shift that budget to PR, right? So should the agency start giving those ideas to the CMOs and say, okay, you need to cut the budget here and instead allocate that budget to do something else, right? How do you handle that kind of conversation from an agency owner perspective?
Oh, that's a good one, and that pushes me to think in a direction where if I'm running an agency and if I have to convince the CMO who is outsourcing their work to my agency, I think so. What I would say is, um, obviously, data-driven decision would be very much important considering the industry landscape and the competitor landscape. After looking at the data points, for sure, I would never ever, like, I would convince them to not cut the baseline SEO spending. Um, at the same time, how can they keep on investing for a very much sound technical foundation on their website where LLM bots can track? How can they work around with the content formats which are future proof for them to sustain the organic traffic? And so, yeah, things like content decays, things like AI systems unable to connect dots with your brand, whether there are gaps with entity mapping, whether there are gaps with knowledge graphs not supporting your brand correctly. So all of these steps need to be highlighted and prioritized, and not only just for 2026, but considering a little longer picture for next 2 to 3 years, like what direction they should start thinking on and how they should start investing small amount of budget into these verticals as well is very important.
Fantastic. Isha, Deepak, your perspective, agency owner, freelancer, etc. How do you convince the CMOs?
Hey, hi, Parth. The moment I joined this session, the first sentence which I heard from Parth was that CEO needs to invest in resilience, but the biggest question is no CEO, CMOs or any C-level executives actually has the resilience and the patience to accept it, because all they talk is numbers, and numbers is something. So that's the moment I entered, that is why I just had a huge laugh on that, the whole thing, that okay, it's easy said than done, because in the end their job is to get the right numbers. Anyways, coming back to the question which Malhari have said, see, I'll tell you what I am doing in my own agency. um, See, what I have understood is now SEO, like there was a time where, as a agency, we used to just talk about SEO. There's an like basically SEO is an organic channel, then there is paid performance, and there is social media. Now, and I mean, when I'm running a full-fledged SEO agency, even in recently with one of my client itself, I clearly told them that when you are budgeting SEO budget will nowhere go. One unfortunate thing for us is that our percentage increment which used to happen will not happen at at the same level which used to happen. But I usually educate my CMOs or C-level executive that what exactly are you looking for. If you're looking for, the reach and the presence in this whole AI world, your brand presence has to be important. So you have to ensure that there is a small budget along with the SEO has to go to PR. There's a budget which also has to go to influencer marketing, provided that is in sync with your uh, audience. If not influencer, then is the video content in sync with your category of audience, then you have to invest a particular amount of spend for that video content as well. So I usually tell them that anyways, so what I'm doing is not going anywhere, but this will only leverage when you ensure that these 10 things you are doing parallelly, because SEO is, and I think there my major education is SEO is not working in silos, and you have to ensure that your brand is present across the web, across wherever people are searching. And to ensure that you need to have you need to be present on these areas. And and in my usual selling proposition to them is that if you think that you're going to just don't rely on an agency and just go ahead and do all of those things alone, then how are you ensuring that your individual people who are making things or doing things are doing right? So for example, they hired a PR agency who's just doing PRs. Whether they are doing the right PRs or not, which is in sync with the SEO, who's going to evaluate that? The SEO agency is going to evaluate that. You are going ahead and just randomly selecting the influencer, whether that influencer is in sync with the content and the intent and the guidelines which you want to talk about it. Who's going to identify that? Again, the same SEO person is going to identify that. So that's how I'm right now creating the correlation between my scope of work. Of course, these things are like, if you ask me, these are more of a cross sell things within an agency also. Like for me, these are becoming my additional services as part of SEO. But what I tell them at that point of time is that the budget which you anyways have to put up an amount in backlinks. Please ensure just enlarge a bit of more amount and ensure that is divided equally into the PR and the other factor, because you don't have to do PR every month. It is once a quarter, once a year. Of course, it also, and right now PR services are also not that expensive. Like, you, at least digital PR you can get and customize it based on how you need it, and it's always better that if you get it done from the agency itself, because then you have a better tie-ups and better deals um, happening there. So that's my take from that side.
Fantastic. And see one thing, and you brought a very nice point. I will say when you mentioned the entire influencer bit, right? And I was see last week at one of the event, and see the event was around predictions for the next year, and one of the point was say 75% of large enterprise, okay, they are going to increase budget on influencer relations, right? This is the prediction that was made. And so again, for people who are listening on a replay or here also, the definition for an influencer or definition of an influencer changes when it comes to a B2B versus a B2C. B2C, you will have all those, yeah, Gen Z kind of influencers across different social platforms. But when it comes to B2B, there are very specific niche influencers, right, who are really thought leaders who write their own articles across different mediums, etc., run their large newsletters and all those stuff. So even at that level, because you want to increase your say brand, I wouldn't say touch points, but again, discovery of the brand, that is where a large part of the budget will also go. So that was a fantastic point. And the second thing I guess you mentioned was around, and this because see, I want to think from an agency point of view and a CMO point of view, because see, CMO point of view, I do have some kind of insight, but when it comes to an agency, the most difficult part of the conversation is convincing the CMO that okay, you want to increase your budget by 5%, because because on the other side, the CMO is also under pressure that boss, all the stuff happening across the world, does he or she really have the budget, right? Increase is a different ballgame. Can they still have the same budget as they had last year? And in that, they need to manage those changes. So lot of stuff happening, and I know world is going little crazy right now, uh, but that comes to the next question in terms of uh, what are the risks, right? Assuming, like I said, the situation where the CMO says, okay, I don't have the budget, or probably I'm going to cut the budget of SEO because, discovery across search is not happening, or blah, blah, any other reason, right? They want to shift the money elsewhere, right? What are the risks that are there that you will be informing the CMOs that, okay, guys, don't do it because if you do, this is going to happen. Parth?
Yep. Um. So it's important to kind of explain the repercussions of cutting down the budget for SEO, and how do we do that? I think so. Technical uh, issues, considering how LLM bots track the website, broken information architecture, because for a machine, for a bot trying to access, I think so. I mentioned this earlier as well. There was this session by Cyrus Shepard from ZP SEO at Ahrefs Evolve 2 months ago, and he was one of the Google's quality raters guideline, and he emphasized a lot on the information architecture, the header menu, the navigation, the footer. So if you check Ahrefs' website, they have it super detailed. And at the same time, it's important to connect dots through your about us page, contact us page, your career page, and all the brand pages on your website, that you as a brand has a lot of credibility. The EAT factors comes into the picture. At the same time, do you have enough credible people who has their voice not only on your website, but they are credible on the overall industry landscape? So yeah, these are other important factors as well. So considering information architecture, uh, if there are any content structure or schema related issues that needs to be fixed, so staying up to date, content structure, information architecture, these are the pointers should be brought up. At the same time, brand search volume, overall brand search demand, and the brand mentions through backlinks, anchor text, or through digital PR. It's going to be important to not miss on these pointers. And there are enough case studies now out there. There are enough SEO veterans who have recently got on stage in last 3 to 4 months, shared their insights, and yeah, we have those data to back up our conversation on maintaining the SEO budgets.
Yes, Isha.
Okay, so in the case scenario which Malhar you have mentioned, my first question to the CMO would be that uh, what is your reason of shifting the budget? Because if you're just shifting it because you have limited budget and you right now maybe want to do PR and then want to pause SEO, or want to do influencer and pause SEO, you need to understand all these are correlated. If you're going to pause one, the other will get affected, and vice versa. So, whatever, I mean, so we all know it very well that if you're pausing few things for 1.5 month, nothing will happen, because uh, although algorithms and everything gets updated very fast, but still there is not huge impact going to happen on the website for a month or an odd space. But if you think that okay, for the next year maybe I just want to hold on SEO, then there are huge repercussions that okay, if you're going to hold that, then whatever activities you are right now doing is not going to impact you. Because if so, a very basic example would be that if you're doing an influencer marketing campaign, or rather you went and go ahead and did a great podcast with a podcast holder, and then when people are searching for your brand itself on the search doesn't look that great. Your brand presence across search various platforms is not there. Then obviously the people will start questioning you. So all of these things at this point of time are interrelated, which needs to be taught and make them understandable that see, these activities are interrelated. Pausing one will impact other, and vice versa. So instead of thinking of pausing, you should think of wisely distributing the budget. I'm not very sure whether you guys have. I don't know about majorly about industry, but what I know is that a lot of boutique agencies, at least a lot of mid-level SEO agencies, they have ensured that their SEO budget is minimalistic and to the point. Like they are not charging to the bomb, because what they are doing is to survive from agency perspective. They're charging a lot of cross channel and other services to ensure that their budgets are survives. And of course, there are other ways to uh, earn in terms of services as well. So if I have to really strategize, or rather give right advice to CMO, I'll first ask them, what is your reason of pausing it? uh, where are you going to push that particular budget? And basis on that, I'm going to consult them and tell them that, because as an agency owner, our job is also to consult the right set of people, that whether they are, whatever decision they are making, whether that is going to be wiser for them in the future or not.
Brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, Parth.
Yeah, I wanted to add one point specifically, and I allude to what Isha just mentioned. Totally agreed. It's our fundamental right to ask these questions, and that is how we'll get. Um, I know one person I cannot name here publicly, but I know one person was leading an enterprise SEO campaign, and the brand that he or she was working, um, their SEO budget was obviously so the investors were a bank, and so what the bank folks would do is, if the SEO team couldn't spend the entire budget in a particular calendar year, they would shift those budgets to PR team, because it was the investors were bankers and all of that. So considering that, I so there are other very good alternative if they don't see a direct investment into SEO, and if the budget is going away, then there are ways to explain that, hey, digital PR is one thing. Investing in building a profile on Reddit is another thing. Investing in producing consistent YouTube content, Quora content, or any other industry based forum is could be a wise decision, and which could in a way help 6 months down the line, a year down the line, 2 years down the line, when the dust settles, when we know what algorithms are working, what is grounding, and like all of the things settle down with respect to the LLMs. So yeah, I just wanted to add this point.
Fantastic. Deepak, exhaustive conversation, but yeah, I love the depth of this conversation. Deepak, you want to add something?
I'm completely aligned with what Parth and Isha said.
Okay, cool. All right. Coming to the next one, and this was uh, because all of us have been talking about GEO, AEO, AISEO, whatever you want to call it, right? Uh, but as you know, everyone is kind of having a kind of playbook, and see, some are successful and they are saying, okay, this is how it is done. So everyone is kind of building their own playbooks to get discovered in LLM. So, but if you look at it, LLMs themselves, there's a lot of say changes in the models coming very fast, extremely fast, rather, I would say. In that case, right, from a CMO point of view, right, how do you allocate the budget? Because there's a lot of experimentation that will need to be done by the agencies or by an in-house SEO team, even to figure out, okay, what playbook is working, and if it changes, right, what kind of changes, because everything will be a cost if it fails.
Oh, that's a good one. I think so. Creating now SEO requires R&D. We used to do R&D for sure earlier as well. Um, with regards to, like, we ran our own experiments and stuff like that, but that was just playing around on the SERP real estate with the blue links, very niche specific AB testing experiments and all of that. But now, creating a separate R&D budget, maybe 10% of the whole SEO budget, or 20, max 20%, 10 to 20% range, um, and it can be fully dedicated to run experiments with respect to answer-led content, or um, investing in linking those entity work, or building knowledge graphs, and kind of reverse engineering some experiments in a way that how these structured signals help in surfacing the AI answer. So um, for sure, and there should be a very strict timeline attached to it. That hey, these experiments needs to be run like in a month or like up to a quarter, and then kind of conclude and move on, have those new frameworks, and if you fail, just move ahead. If it works, let's double down on it. Yeah.
Okay, so my follow up there was also in terms of something clicked for a current model, right? But the moment the model changes, the same playbook or the same steps that a brand would have taken suddenly has to change, right? Because it's very fluid at this point of time. And as a CMO, right, how do I determine that, okay, I'm putting 10% right now for next 1 month, and if it succeeds, probably next 2 months, we will continue the same playbook. The fourth month, LLM decides to change their entire model, and whatever I invested had just gone, right? Do I again convince the CMO to reinvest because I need to do the experiments again? Or the CMOs at this point of time, as they are defining the budgets, earmark a certain portion and say, okay, entire year I'm going to have a certain buffer which will only be used for experimentation.
Deepak, if you want to go first, and then if you
Yeah.
yeah.
So for the first question, I want to, I, w- I, w- I was watching a video on AI, how AI works and all that. It was I think, a video from IBM, which said we are working on AI, but we don't know why it works. So this applies on LLM or AIO or whatever SEO we are doing. We do, we see some results, but we don't actually know why it works. For the second part, I would say that we have to, map out, map the whole journey of a user who is coming to our website, and also check if, like, every LLM has a character, has a audience base, and not all, like, not everyone is using cloud. General people are using either a Gemini or ChatGPT. So we have to identify our customer base, our audience, and then target one LLM or two LLM for that sake, and see if that works.
Fair. Parth?
um yeah, it's a difficult one to kind of allocate that budget. So what your competitor is doing, I think so we can figure out some things are working for sure. So majority of the budget should be allocated in that direction, whether Reddit is working, YouTube is working, or any other forums. And at the same time, if there are any other indirect signals, if the overall brand recall or testimonials or the overall brand sentiment is kind of not up to the mark, I think so. Those areas are the new areas or new functions with which the SEO team or uh, needs to work on. So, as an SEO, you should convince your CMO that, hey, we'll need a helping hand from the branding team, we'll need a helping hand from the support team, blah blah blah, and kind of run small experiments, like maybe 2% of the out of the 20% budget should be used in those experiments as well. So accordingly, like, it could be allocated, but yeah, majority should be allocated in a way where there's an 80% guarantee that, hey, Reddit is there, it's going to show up, and it's going nowhere. Even if Reddit doesn't surface, even if the deal is over after a year or two with Google, um, people are still going to Reddit independently. So yeah.
Fair. Isha, you have any thought?
Yes, I do have. I think, I mean, and maybe I'll just talk what industry is talking. Uh, so, as a marketer, we all know that, the generalist market people who are basically journalists who just talk just top of the line kind of thing in marketing channels, uh, is now no like basically companies do not like journalists, they specifically like specialists or people who understand the domain better, and that is why people are preferring domain level expertise. uh, and that's the same thing which is right now getting applicable for SEO as well. People who understand the market better, people who understand uh, the the industry well, is actually the requirement of CMOs or organization for SEO, because the playbook which you are talking about, that person might have it because they are working on the similar industry for multiple projects, and they know that which particular channel, which particular messaging, which particular emotion, which particular intent work for this kind of industry. So that would be my suggestion, that as a CMO, a I mean, I hope that you are right now in line with the right uh, agency whoever is catering to, and B, from agency side, every agency need to find their niche and have to work on that particular thing if they want to serve this whole AIO and things better. Because as Parth mentioned, that is so true, that R&D is a very, I mean, I remember when I started my agency, that was the one thing which I was telling people, that if you want to start an SEO agency, and I had a huge conversation with a lot of SEO experts also at that point of time, that you know if you're running an SEO agency, just ensure that you are treating an SEO agency like an R&D agency, because it is like a research and development thing. There is nothing like which has worked for one, but a lot of time the same industry, same websites also do not give the same results, because there are a lot of other factors which involve, because every organization and every brand does not have the same budget to be invested across multiple channels. Every brand does not even every marketer, or rather every head of the business does not understand their audience so well and their emotions so well that they can strategize things uh, in that particular way. So these are the things which is very important when you are basically running a playbook. So if there's a right person, the person will be able to give you the playbook. If there is not a right person, then yes, you will need an R&D person who will be able to create it. And if you don't have both of the things, then you have to create your own playbook.
Fantastic. And this kind of brings me to a very intriguing question, if I can put it that way. And again, if you are unable to answer it, it is fine, because this just comes out from a point of view that, see, right now, whatever we are thinking is, say, LLM discovery or your brand getting discovered on LLMs, and assuming that a human is consuming that content. But if you look at certain scenarios, there are a lot of AI agents also which are kind of running those queries and scraping content from the answers that are generated by, say, whichever LLM tool they have been used. The consumer of that information is basically another AI agent, right? So as a CMO, right, should I be also be mindful of those situation where, in spite of my efforts to put budget for content, etc., across whatever tools, I will also have to presume that the content will not be consumed by actual human. It could be a machine consuming that content and doing some other steps out of it. How do you balance that? And should CMOs be bothered about it, or should even SEOs be bothered about it?
Oh, that's a $1 million question, and that's such a future-proof. Agentic search is right, right near the corner. Like we'll we'll see it in 2026, if not 2027. But yeah, and we will have to understand that an OpenAI bot or a Claude bot or the Copilot or Perplexity. So, what are the top 3 to 5 popular bots? What are their patterns? What are the platforms they prefer? So, on top of the funnel content, they might scrap a YouTube video, audio, transcript, find the language, keywords, blah blah blah. Top of the funnel, any other content found on the website. So, what are the common platforms that it is preferring for top, middle, and bottom of the funnel? And we need to understand that hey, Reddit content is crawlable by bots. YouTube content is crawlable. These are the other platforms. These are the other forums. Tech Radar for tech niche and stuff like that. Wikipedia is there. So we will have to consider that if we are searching for, please help me find a Nike shoe. I have 6 fingers instead of 5 on my left foot, blah blah blah. If we do this search, it's going to go out there, find that listing. It's going to go and get reviews from Reddit for from someone who has posted that I have 6 fingers. So you need to think this whole thing and how in agentic search is going to happen, how a machine to machine communication, how a machine to machine content scraping is going to happen, and what is that network of content as a brand you need to put out that hey, even if that bot is going out there and checking on multiple platforms, it is your brand that is serving it, and your brand is there satisfying the agentic search intent. So yeah, we are going to see a lot of it, and I am curious and at the same time excited about it.
Cool. Isha, Deepak, any thought? Again, feel free to discard it as well, which is fine.
No, I think I agree with Parth what he said. And if I have to just give you one word answer of it, that whether CMS should be bothered of it at this point of time, I would say that they shouldn't. If their objective is, because right now, the if we talk about AI agents also, because if your objective is to get yourself visible across AIs, then you should not think of that level technicalities. But in future, we don't know where exactly this will go, because there is a chances that it will also create a lot of bot traffic to the website, which can also be in future hard to detect and hard to uh, justify, because the biggest problem right now with all of these AI and tools is their tracking mechanism, because no one is able to track that, the source, the further things. And it is, and I don't think so it is possible also, because the tools which are right now being created are either overpriced or are not worth it. So right now, I think in the whole, because that whole phase is at the R&D phase, one line answer would be that you should not be bothered about, provided your business is really something where you have a lot of data privacy issues, where you have a lot of uh, uh, I mean, maybe you have a lot of research level data which you don't want the bots uh, uh, to basically check. At that point of time, you should restrict them, and then again that again bottle down to that who's your audience, because again there are specific bots who are also pulling out the research level data as well, because there are research based bots which are being created and generated which needs that data as well. So maybe you need to restrict yourself to only that particular bots and ensure that your data is only being tracked to that space. So this whole space, if you which you're talking about, is because we don't have a tracking mechanism. We might not be able to predict a lot of predictions around it. But at this point of time, because it is a very fresh and a lot of no, I mean, at this point of time, since things are pretty fresh, then the CMO should not worry about it. They should just go ahead.
Super. Deepak? Okay, move to the next one. In this, I'm just switching the gears in terms of because last 10 minutes we talk little about the content because you do everything, but what sits at the center of the universe of an SEO is content, right? How does that budget change, right? Do do you foresee more investment coming in for content as general, or it would the content pieces will become more specific in terms of there will be certain budget allocated to question led content, entity rich content, structured content, etc. How do you see that kind of being played out in 2026 from a budget point of view?
My thought and my opinion would be uh, mm, compared to the traditional SEO era 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and now the budget should be same, because earlier the content production cost with all human efforts in 2022 was very high, but now the research phase, the overall content production cost has dropped down because of AI. Obviously, still human is very very important. Human in the loop. The editorial review, the factual check is important, and not only that, the freshness of content is very very important. So, updating the content more frequently than the previous era. But still, I think so. The budget remains the same. It's more about um, rethinking the whole content strategy with respect to like content hubs, glossary concepts, um, customer problem frameworks, and just not volume based topic publishing. Um, Brands should, I think so, the CMOs should focus on a content strategy which has question led content format. The content should be very simple in language but entity rich, that explains the concepts very very clearly, and um, yeah, that should be the way to go, in my opinion.
Isha, what do you
No, I
think?
agree with Parth. I think, I mean, uh, but the moment you said about content, I was also thinking the same thing, that the cost of a standard content is anyways reduced from last 2 years, if you ask me. Uh, so overall, from a CMO perspective, the budget should be same, and it should be wisely utilized across the different content pieces which you want. So, like, I think I'll circle back to uh, the point which I initially mentioned, that the what kind of content you want to invest, whether you want to, because video content is also now the need of the hour, whether you want to invest in video content, whether even when you talk about influencer, it again is a content driven market. It's not just finding out the only influencer. If it's a podcaster, then it's a different content. If and like so vice versa, there are so many places. Again, PR is again a content driven approach. So there also your budget is decided based on the content which you want to publish, whether it's an award you want to recognize, whether it's a basic PR, whether it is just a publication. So every media piece has a different budget. So overall budget from content should be same, but it should be wisely divided.
Again, you made a very nice point about the entire content which is getting commoditized, right? So I have an option to control or reduce my budget on content because I can still go back and say, okay, creation of content is not expensive as it was probably a year back or a couple of years back, right? So again, going back on the budgeting part is okay, can I just reduce the say cost of content by 10% and not 20% and say okay, this 20% I'm going to put in different channels, or go back and say okay, I have 20% surplus, I am going to create more content because I can, and structure it to ensure again better discovery, better conversion, etc. The question basically becomes like, should I reuse my buffer to produce more better content, or should I allocate it to a different channel?
In Okay, sorry, yeah, Parth.
No, please go ahead. I'll continue later.
In my opinion, I would say you should not even think like the first point which you mentioned. You should not think that way. You should rethink on. I mean, again, what is your industry? What pieces of content do I want? Because when you say content, are you looking for the standard blog content, or are you looking for content as overall content? Because what I know as a CMO, your job is not just like you're not restricted towards one particular platform. You are basically a marketing uh, driver for the complete brand. So for a brand, the content means your presence is across everywhere. So in that case, you should just and I would not even say that, reducing the budget or increasing the budget. You should just realign the budgets at and rethink of the places and the platform where you want to spend it.
No, fantastic. Because this is again coming from a personal experience that okay, I need to look at Reddit now because that's another channel, or probably I need to build my brand on YouTube. Now I have budget left over from my say probably a blog content, right? I am not producing enough blogs right now. Let me use that budget and push it for either working with an agency that will help with my Reddit presence, or probably work with an agency which is helping me create more better YouTube videos or YouTube content, right? So this is some of the say I guess conversation people like me have started having internally also, and saying okay, how do I, because at every level the creation of content is commoditized in terms of even for YouTube I can still create AI generated videos, put voiceovers with different tools and have good flashy outputs, right? Something which I personally have invested say upwards of 5 lakhs Indian rupees on creation of videos. Those things can be done under 50K right now, right? So I'm sitting on humongous budget probably, right? So that's where all of us are kind of prioritizing in terms of boss content creation is commoditized. Better use it on channels that are giving you results and probably scale on those channels. Okay, I know we are just a minute, so I'll try to push in the last question. Let us assume CMOs decide to cut say SEO tools, right? Or okay, let me put it this way. Investment on SEO tools right now, or budget for SEO tools right now, or use those budget to train people, improve process, and put better operations around that. Last thought.
I think so. The SEO team needs to reevaluate on. So there's a lot of overwhelming of tools. There are like dozens of vibe coded AI visibility trackers out there. So I've seen this pattern that enterprise level SEO teams have fixated to Profound in last 3 to 4 months, because Profound is one of the best at this point in time. While SEMrush and Ahrefs are chasing up, considering their overall toolkit, how they can integrate the AI visibility thing into their SEO offerings. So enterprise has kind of settled down with Profound at this point in time, but overall startups and SMEs, they need to kind of overcome and decide on what tools they want to go for next couple of quarters at least, and deciding on uh, what content workflows that can help them measure the input and the output quality overall. So yeah, I think so. These are the things. I think so. Tools consideration, considering tools is pretty important, because until you don't fix it with a tool, you can't set up an SOP or a process or a blueprint, whatever you call it. Um, and it's getting difficult to train your team. It's getting difficult to set up your in-house processes, or if you want to outsource something. So yeah, this is my thought.
Okay. So I might have a slight different approach here. Um, I would say that first of all, we should never I mean, as a owner of an organization also, and what I've learned from business perspective also, that you should never compare a resource and a tool together, because these are two different entities altogether. So you should never think of that, I can shift my budget from a particular tool to maybe train a resource, because that these two are completely independent of each other, and these two have different needs of an organization. That's my take from the training and the resource perspective, because I believe that's like, I mean, a human resource or a resource is a very different. I understand that right now, uh, seeing the volatility of our industry and the kind of resources which are present in uh, the market, along with the competitive rates which is going on, things are difficult, and people are training onto it. But I will still second that this is completely different. Like, you should never think of that, okay, I have a budget and I'll just shift it to a resource, because these two always need a separate budget altogether. Second is, now if I go back to the point of tool itself, I mean, leave the clients, even agencies are rethinking their tools. So of course, that, like, the tools has to be rethink now. The whole objective of using a tool like SEMrush, Ahref, after the ranking has been dropped, is actually been reduced to an extent that even agents, because last 2 months when we are educating our most of the clients that, the rank, now you'll just get the ranking of first two pages altogether, and then investing that much amount for a particular tool to just track the ranking and the performance doesn't make sense. uh, Now I believe at that point of time you should realign your tools based on what do you want, because uh, I mean, I would say that instead of me going ahead and picking an amount and putting an amount to any of these tools, I might invest in a good and a good analytics tool which can give me everything. or rather create a own bot to ensure that the tracking is been happening properly, and they are basically capturing my website wherever it is going and giving me a better experience. So better analytics tool is a need of this rather than Google. Like that will be my take from the tool perspective. But yes, tools 100%, I mean, not just client, I mean, even agencies are right now thinking on. And specifically right now, the way industry is, like every second day you get a new AI tool rolling out, saying that okay, there, like every small little task of SEO, currently a tool is getting generated. Like right now we are talking and there might be another tool which is getting generated in the backend. So uh, picking up one tool is of course becoming difficult. Again, uh, you need to think of, okay, what is your need at that point of time, what is a process which can be streamlined to it, how big your organization is, how big your website is, where my budget has to be invested. Like a lot of client, what I have seen is, and a lot of CMOs also, what I've seen is that instead of investing in the tool, they ensure that they hire an agency who has invested in the tool, and their SEO package is they're ensuring that the SEO package includes the tool data, so that they're getting the tool data to analyze also. So it all depends on what kind of engagement you have and what kind of ways you can integrate to get that data.
Super, super. Unfortunately, I have to wrap up on this one, but I would have loved to have this conversation going on for another uh, or a little longer time. But yeah, we'll have something for next week. And so until that, okay, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for chiming in with your thoughts. And always lovely to see you around. Folks on the replay, thanks to you two for being there. And we'll catch up again for the last episode of this year. Uh, we'll figure out a good topic by then.